Okay, this video is part 2 of Sunlight by Dr. Day. It's an article that she wrote. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just real quick go over a few things about the benefits of sunlight. Some of this I might have said before, but number one, from the articles by Roger Seheult, the guy over at MedCram, real smart guy, that there's papers written now that sunlight seems to fluidize the inner mitochondrial fluid, matrix fluid around ATP synthase, maybe making it easier for it to make ATP. So liquefy it from the gel phase, the fourth phase of water, to a liquid phase so the ATP synthase can spin faster. So that's one preliminary thing that seems to be true from early research. Number two, it causes cytochrome C oxidase, CCO, to make more melatonin, which thus facilitates the mitochondria being able to minimize oxidative stress. So when it starts dropping electrons into the matrix, combining with oxygen to make superoxides, it can more rapidly detox those, so to speak, neutralize those, because melatonin is a very powerful antioxidant. So it's sort of like a super glutathione. So that's two beneficial mechanisms. But now there's a third one, is that this comes from the work of Gerald Pollack. He's the guy who did all that work on the fourth phase of water. He said that their research indicates that when you get exposure to near infrared light, which we feel is heat, but it's really just non-visible red light, that it's increasing the size of the so-called easy water, which is a beneficial thing. Like, that's going to improve the size of your glycocalyx. So that's good because it prevents the risk of, it minimizes the risk of it collapsing down as it does after a high-fat meal. And so that should be, antithrombotic, which means anti-atherosclerotic, which also protects, lowers the risk, you would think, of metastatic disease. Now, this is all theoretical. This is not from a paper. I'm just saying is, if something thickens the glycocalyx and helps maintain it, then that makes it harder for, let's say, a metastasizing cancer cell in your blood to attach to the endothelium, and thus less likely to be able to gain subendothelial access and grow as a met. So it would seem likely to help protect against the spread of metastatic cancer. That's all theoretical, but I'm just going through the things that you would expect it to do based on that. The sunlight also causes release of nitric oxide precursors from your subcutaneous tissues, so that's going to cause systemic vasodilation, meaning opening up arteries all around your body. So those are like 4 major good things sunlight can do. And then we know the stuff like if you have patients on 2 sides of the hospitals, the one on the side where there's sunlight, much more direct sunlight, they tend to get better a lot faster. So anyways, let's continue with what Lorraine Day wrote here. She said, sunlight is considered by modern medicine to be the cause of skin cancer, but our ancestors for thousands of years lived and worked primarily outdoors, and skin cancer was virtually unknown. In 1900, 75% of Americans worked outdoors, and skin cancer was unheard of. In 2014, only 10% of Americans work outdoors, and there's 3.5 million new cases of skin cancer diagnosed annually. Okay? And the worst ones are like a bad melanoma that metastasizes. A lot of these minor things, they're really not that big a deal. Okay, so let's go to the next page here. Okay, she says, we spend far less time outdoors than we used to. And not only do we spend less time, we often cover ourselves in sunscreen. Okay, so one thing or two I wanted to say about this, all this stuff about sunshine making you healthy, near red light, there are reasons to believe it's good. One has to be careful about the eyes. I haven't got around to studying the effect on the eyes yet, so you have to be careful about that you don't want to do anything that's going to potentially damage your eyes and how you're exposed to it. But I do think it's good to get outdoors more in the sun. But I'm also going to say something too. Yeah, it makes your mitochondria work better, and that's a wonderful thing because we all want good mitochondrial function, gives us more energy. Everything in our body works better when we got more energy. Okay, but I'm also going to say something too. It's not like this is super magic, okay? I know tons of guys that work outside in the sun doing construction work or, lawnmower guys cutting the grass and stuff. I never heard one of those guys say, well, gee, I got more sun yesterday and now I feel smarter. I never saw a guy say, oh, that sunlight, gave me this newfound strength, and they go out and they win, a 10K race, or they win a big wrestling competition. So what I'm trying to say is it's got what appears to be significant benefits to mitochondria and health and immune system function, but it's not like it's going to supercharge your brain or make you into a new humanness. Okay, and I don't like these sunscreens. I remember reading papers on them, and Anthony J talks about them at his site, Dr. Anthony J. They'll still be in your blood like a week later. Okay, so and here's the point she says. Because people were out in the sun and they didn't get skin cancer, but now they use sunscreen and they do, she says it's not the sun causing the skin cancer, and she thinks that some of it might be these sunscreen chemicals, but also people in the modern world, they're often quite stressed out. They're often quite sleep deprived. She says these sunscreens also block the beneficial effects of sunlight. Okay, and she herself had said when she had her breast cancer, she said, "What is it that heals you?" She said, "It's your immune system that heals you." Okay, so that's why she really didn't do that much treatment other than her initial surgery of the breast. She didn't do much after that. She wasn't enthusiastic about chemo because she's like, well, chemo wipes out my immune system. I need my immune system to heal, so why would I do that? In a sense, it's a little bit like playing chicken, and you want to just turn it off at the last minute where it's wiped out the cancer but not your immune system. And, for some cancers it does work well, but for a lot of them it doesn't. Okay, let's continue here. So here's her big statement. Sunlight does not cause skin cancer. That's a big statement because a lot of the dermatology, they're all freaked out and like, oh, you need more sunscreen, even put sunscreen on at night. I totally think she's right and they're wrong based on my study of the subject. Sunlight actually inhibits skin cancer, and when the diet and the other lifestyle factors are right. A study at Baylor College of Medicine examined the protective effects of vitamin C, E, and similar agents. 2 groups of animals given ultraviolet light treatments. The animals in one group received a regular balanced diet, the others given protective vitamins. At the end of 24 weeks, the 24% of the animals on the regular diet developed skin cancer, while none was found in the animals that received the extra vitamins. It's the proper nutrition that makes a difference. But I would also say, hold on a sec there with that statement, is you get your vitamins from eating food. And Lorraine Day herself has the quote that God did not make vitamins. God made food. Okay, so it's a little bit of a semantic nuance, but that's what we're designed to eat. Okay, the only supplement I take is vitamin B12 methylcobalamin. Okay, she says all cancers are inhibited by natural keratin. Skin cancers are inhibited to an amazing extent by the presence of keratin. It's like an antioxidant. In a study of sarcomas, the group given keratin lived over 55% longer. And another study of both vitamin A and keratin found in over 50% who had cancer, suggesting increased vitamin A was protective. Yeah, I would just say eat the orange foods. I would not take the supplement because whenever I read supplement papers, unless the person's deficient, giving stuff beyond what would be their dietary intake, they have worse outcomes in the supplement-treated vitamin arm. Okay. Carrots have been found to reduce the risk of cancer. Yeah, it's good to eat carrots. Okay. Okay, here's another big statement by her. Melanoma is not caused by exposure to the sun. Yeah, people a lot of times get melanoma in strange areas, like their armpit or their back or something, areas that were relatively covered. Okay. And again, I've seen people getting melanomas who were working night shifts. They're immunosuppressed. She says sunlight inhibits cancer. How does sunlight inhibit cancer? Anything that inhibits the immune system increases cancer formation. Sunlight helps prevent cancer by stimulating the immune system and increasing its efficiency. Okay. What suppresses the immune system? A diet high in animal products. Anything high in fats is going to suppress the immune system. Okay. I've gone through those papers before, and the talk at Global Immunotalks, the Lydia Lynch, Irish PhD lady, was real good on that. She talked about how both obesity and high-fat meals suppress the immune system. And I think it was Neil Bernard who said the immune system can't function well in an oil slick. And I've read other papers. I read all the stuff about cancer, and you don't want high-fat diets. You don't want high-sodium diets. They're both going to impair the immune system's ability to fight cancer. Other factors that suppress the immune system are refined sugar, food preservatives, and potentially other additives in processed food, as well as dehydration. Caffeine's like an immune suppressant. It's your stress response. It elevates the same hormones, cortisol and catecholamines. So the cortisol, it's a powerful immunosuppressant. Stress has a major negative effect on the immune system. Okay. And all that stuff can lead to a vicious cycle. When you're stressed out, you're not sleeping adequately, and then your sleep deprivation does the same thing. Okay. And I have also seen a lot of the people who lived in these sunny areas are the ones who have the biggest, longest survival. She herself lived in California, Lorraine Day, and she outsurvived. She got diagnosed in I think in her 40s, and she lived to be 86 years old with metastatic breast cancer. Ruth Heidrich's also diagnosed with breast cancer in her 40s, and she's 90 years of age. She's still alive. Lorraine Day died about 2 years ago. And then there's another lady, Janet Murray. She's in Australia. So Ruth Heidrich was in Hawaii. Janet Murray was in Australia. And she also became low-fat vegan, especially raw vegan. And she ran a marathon every day in 1 year all around the perimeter of Australia. But what am I saying is, being in hot climates, they had more access to sunshine, more access to fresh fruits, for example, fresh plant foods, less frozen food, more sunlight. Sunlight increases the oxygen in tissues that stimulates the immune system to produce antibodies. Okay. Sunlight lowers blood pressure, so it improves blood pressure. Stress is decreased by exposure to sunlight. Okay. Coffee and tea stimulate substances known as caffeine, theophylline, theobromine. These increase cyclic AMP in the body. Okay. And one eats PUFAs, fried foods. This will decrease lymphocyte ability to destroy cancer cells. Okay, so you don't want to do that. Sunlight lowers cyclic AMP, thus reduces stress. Yeah, it's a real pleasant feeling to get that. Why avoiding sunshine can kill you. Women who never sunbathe during the summer are twice as likely to die prematurely as those who sunbathe every day. Okay. In summary, sunlight helps prevent and reverse cancer by boosting the immune system function, increasing the number and activity of disease-fighting white blood cells, especially the lymphocytes, increasing oxygen saturation of your body, thereby decreasing cancer cells' ability to divide and grow. Yeah, if you're vasodilated from having increased nitric oxide precursors released into your blood, then you're going to get more oxygen into your tissues. And again, what caused cancer? One of it was, mitochondrial injury due to hypoxia, lack of oxygen. So getting more oxygen in your tissue tends to favor the life and function of the normal cells, because often you end up with a competition between the cancer competing with the cells around it, the normal cells around it. So the tumor microenvironment, tumor milieu is important. And what you want is a well-oxygenated tumor milieu, low in fat, low in dietary sodium, to favor the normal cells over the cancer cell. And that's also what Lorraine Day says. She's got a really good lecture called The 10 Commandments of Health. And she basically says the same approach that's good for preventing cancer, slowing down cancer growth, is good for preventing and slowing down everything else, all the bad stuff. Basically, she says what you're doing is by eating this low-fat vegan diet with no oil, you're depriving the cancer of what it needs to grow. Okay, it needs iron, which comes from meat. It comes from iron-fortified processed food. It needs some fat. It wants insulin-like growth factor to be increased. It needs those amino acids that especially come from meat, like the leucine, for example, that activate mTOR. So you deprive it of that, and you got a better chance to slow it down. Okay, so she says it decreases high blood pressure, and hypertension is associated with, hypertension over time leads to more atherosclerosis, which is going to lead to more tissue hypoxia. It decreases your stress level, and that improves immune function. She also recommends that you should drink large amounts of water. Okay, she actually recommends right here you should be drinking homemade organic carrot juice. Okay, or you could eat the carrots, or you could also eat other things that are orange. You could eat sweet potatoes, for example, whatever other orange food you could think of. Eating whole foods, a vegan diet of fruits, grains, and vegetables in their natural form to obtain large amounts of antioxidants. She would eat some barley too, she said, to get vitamin B12. She felt that was one way you could potentially avoid even needing to supplement it. Exercising in the fresh air and sunshine to increase the amount of oxygen going into the body and the cells. Elimination of refined sugar from the diet. She says that sugar leaches vitamins and minerals from the body, causing suppression in the immune system. I think I heard that guy, the big gut guy, Dr. B, say that he felt that excess simple sugars also might contribute to leaky gut. I think I recall him saying that in one of his interviews. Drinking adequate amounts of fresh, pure water containing oxygen. Okay, exercising. helps to eliminate stress, increases oxygen consumption by the body. It causes your mitochondria to be maintained, and it also gets you to sleep better. Proper rest at the proper time at night. Learning to trust God and be anxious for nothing. Philippians chapter 4, verse 6. Okay, so she's basically saying what you want to do is, in a sense, rebuild your immune system, get it to function better, and that helps to control all your diseases. So, anyways, that was Lorraine Day on Sunshine, and she's a lady who knows what she's doing. She's one of the smartest women who ever lived, and she survived metastatic breast cancer for 40 years. So, anyways, I hope you found that helpful.